Hello there, and welcome to another episode of The Nature Trail. I'm your host for today's episode, and we are going to be looking at bees, beekeeping, honey production, and a whole lot more related to that industry. Of course, I'll be interacting with some colleagues and friends regarding issues we are going to be discussing, and I believe we have a lot of entertaining, interesting, and worthwhile information to share with you today. So please, do not go away, stick around, and let's have some fun.
Industrious, bustling, busy honeybees. They are virtually everywhere you find flowers, nectar, and pollen in nature. Current estimates put the number of known bee species around 30,000. About 2,755 species of bees are known to inhabit sub-Saharan Africa, with another 1,200 species occurring in the southern part of the African continent. In Ghana, we are more familiar with the bee species Apis mellifera, well known for being among the highest honey-producing types of bees in Africa. We sometimes associate bees with a tendency to sting us upon our approaching their hives, but usually, most bees will only attack humans when they feel their colony is threatened. So, for the most part, bees will let you be so far as you do not interfere with their daily business. Bees are present on every continent of planet Earth, with the exception of Antarctica. Bees have proven to be of immense importance to human societies as far back as written and known history goes. The value of these bustling, busy insects goes far beyond providing us with sweet honey, something we as humans commonly associate bees with. In today's episode and several subsequent episodes of The Nature Trail, we will be taking an in-depth look at bees regarding their existence in nature, how they impact us human beings and other life forms on the planet.
Alright, today we are talking about bees, beekeeping, honey production, and a whole lot more. But before we get into the little nitty-gritty bits about hive making and the other aspects we will be discussing later on today, I'm here with a colleague and a good friend of mine. I believe it would be appropriate if you introduce yourself to our viewers.
Okay. My name is Isaac Kwame Badu, and then I recently completed my master's degree in entomology. So I know a little bit about bees that I think I can share with you all.
Okay, that's great. I think I will rather put it this way. He knows a whole lot more he's going to be sharing with us today on beekeeping. Okay, Ike, I always call him Ike. We're talking about bees. I know bees are social insects. Can we have a bit of a descriptive about, because it's not just, there are different types of bees. And of course, when it comes to every colony, I think there's a caste system. Can you share a bit more light on what a colony comprises of, starting right from wherever you think is appropriate?
Okay.
Yeah.
So the bee colony comprises the queen, the drones, and then the workers.
Okay.
These are the three categories of bees that you can find for the bees that are social. So the queen is a female that you can only have one queen at a time in the bee colony. And then you have workers who are also all females. They are responsible for foraging and then bringing food into the hive, as well as producing the hive product. And then you have the drones, which are the males.
Okay.
All drones are male. So these are the three groups that you can find in the bee colony.
Okay, that's great. So, regarding identifying them, if I'm out, in a field or something, how easy is it to identify a queen bee, or is that something that you really need to look in, in detail at? Is it that easy to be able to pinpoint, or maybe I'm passing by a colony? Is it that easy to pinpoint a queen bee?
Okay, so most often in the hive, for the social insects, we know they live in the hives.
Yeah.
The queen is almost always positioned in the center of the hive.
Okay.
And then you would have a lot of the workers surrounding her.
Okay.
So what distinguishes the queen from the other workers is the abdomen. The queen has a very long abdomen, which is bigger in size.
Okay.
And then overall, the queen is also bigger in size as compared to the other workers.
Okay, well, I was asking that because when I look at termites, certain species, it's so easy to distinguish the queen. She has a massive abdomen, distended, and is loaded full with eggs. Are we going to be seeing something similar with the queen bee, or is she size-wise not so enormous? Because I know with the termites, the queens can be massive, like a very large, structure when you look at her abdomen. Is it the same thing with the queen bee?
Yes, the queen bee is also like that. It's clearly distinguished from the workers by the abdomen and then the size.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's bigger in size and then has a long abdomen, just like the termites are.
Oh, okay. I see. That's great. Okay, now there's something about bees and and I like to say and communication, because it's like, of course, all bees can fly. They are true insects, and they have wings. They can fly. They move back and forth between the hive and water and food sources. How do bees communicate? Because it's like, if you have a food source here, a bit of nectar or something, and a certain bees can be probably a kilometer, half a kilometer, a mile away. Workers are able to come over, and it's like somehow they're able to go back to the hive and communicate, and the next thing you know, there are more bees coming along. Or is it just random? Is it something like random sampling? Or is it like there's a clear communication whereby they're able to lay down information to their other counterparts, other bees in the hive, and then they know exactly where to go? Or is it that a worker finds a food source, goes back, gets some more worker bees, and comes back with them? How does it work out when it comes to communication and moving back and forth between food sources and the hive?
Okay, so the workers, like I initially mentioned, the workers are responsible for foraging.
Yeah.
So every morning when they have to forage, some bees are sent out as scouts to first of all go and identify where the food sources are. So these scouts go into the vegetation and then they identify flowers that contain nectar and pollen that will be good enough for the hive. Once they identify these sources, they pick samples and then come into the hive to come and share with the rest of the workers. So they feed the rest of the workers with the sample of the nectar that they have collected. And then they also use dances to demonstrate where the food sources and then so they demonstrate the direction and then the distance of the food sources. So there are two types of dances, the waggle dance and then the round dance. The waggle dance specifically is used to communicate to the bees the direction and then the distance of the food sources. And then they use the round dance to communicate the location of the food source. So as they do this, they communicate the information to the other workers and then they recruit the rest of the workers to all go out to that particular source to go and forage and then return with the products that they would have collected.
Wow, that's very interesting. So there was a waggle dance and
a round dance.
And a round dance. Okay, I hope you're taking notes. I think for me this is something really interesting, especially when it comes to science. I'm always interested in matters related to nature and science. Okay, I recently got to know about bees, not like as in we have stingless bees and we have bees. Of course, when it comes to bees, we all think about honey and then, of course, a sting, which is a painful reminder anytime you you cross bees and stuff like that. So when we say stingless bees, that definitely means they have no stings, right? With the species of stingless bees that you are familiar with, when we talk about size, is there a massive variation regarding differences in size between stingless bees and bees which possess stings?
Yes. So like you said, once we think about bees, the first thing that comes into mind is insects that sting. But then there are also other bees that do not sting that we refer to as the stingless bees. Those ones, in terms of size, they are relatively small, and then their colors are also different, a bit darker and then brownish as compared to the honeybees, which are yellow and black. Yes. So the stingless bees are small. You might mistaken them for ants or even for small flies. That is if you don't know that they are stingless bees. But then, yes, there are some bees that do not sting. Yes.
I see. Okay, interesting, interesting. Now, another thing that pops into my mind when I hear stingless bees, because I know bees, with them producing honey, honey is something that is sought after by not only human beings, but other animals. Ants love honey. Honey badgers are out there. Ant lions. Oh, so many creatures out there that love honey because of its properties and its uses. Now, a bee that has no sting, because bees have what do you call enemies, they're predators. I know some species of hornets prey on bees, or some species of wasps prey on bees. So a sting is meant for defensive purposes, of course. With a stingless bee, then, how is it going to defend its hive, or it's lacking a sting? How is it going to ward off predators?
So for the stingless bees, they defend their hives and then ward off predators by biting. Yes, so they can bite the predators or their enemy, and they also have another strategy which is called embowelment. So they produce propolis, and then they use this propolis to embalm the predator, to sort of cover it, and then through that they are able to kill the invaders and then enemies that attack their hives.
I see. So is it when you talk about biting or using their mouth parts, is that a property that, or is that a trait that bees which possess stings also possess? Will they also be like in the face or event of a predator or some adversary coming around? Are they going to not only sting you but also bite you as well? Or it's only
for
something
the stinging bees, because they have the stinging apparatus, so their first instinct is to sting you. To defend themselves or to defend their colony. But the stingless bees, they don't have the stinging apparatus. So then their mechanism is to bite. I'm asking that because I have been stung by a bee, and it's not something that I've said that's pleasant. But I am now wondering that with a stingless bee, if it was to bite me compared to a sting, which is more painful? The sting will be certainly more painful. Much more. You hardly find stingless bees biting you to an extent where you would feel pain. I have visited a number of stingless beehives, and then I've never experienced that bite before. Perhaps they may bite the other animals that will actually invade their hives, but then you as the human going to their hive and all of those things, they will just be around you. I've never experienced them biting before.
I see. And then this also comes to mind when it comes to bees from Europe and then bees in Africa. Apparently African bees are more aggressive. I think there was a movie some years back in which they talk about killer bees, that there were actually some mutants or strain from Africa, and the movie was based on something like that they were taken over to Europe, and next thing you know, these bees are going around killing people. Just how aggressive are African bees truly as compared? Can we say bees from Europe are really docile, or under certain conditions they are going to be also very, very aggressive? Because apparently African bees are very, very aggressive. I don't know if is it just a myth or something just being put out there, or if they actually live up to that name of being very aggressive compared to
the aggressive nature of bees. It's actually a DNA component. So more their genes are able to give them that property or that trait. Whether they would be aggressive, they will have that aggressive nature or not. And then through research or a number of studies that have studied and compared African bees to the European bees, we have identified that a lot of the African bees have that aggressive trait, and then they are more aggressive as compared to the European bees. So often in the European countries, you can have people visiting the hives, even sometimes without protective clothing, and then they may not experience that much serious thing as compared to the African. But when they come here, they are not able to do the same because African bees are more aggressive. And then, per what I know, it is as a result of their DNA, genetic makeup, that makes them. And then one thing that we should know is that the species that are present in Africa are not the same species that are present in the European countries. So the Apis mellifera, for instance, that is the honeybee. We have honeybees also in the European countries. But then we have a subspecies which is the Adansonii, and then the Adansonii is naturally aggressive. That is how it is.
Okay.
But the Europeans don't have the Adansonii, so that is also one of the things. The differences in the species also makes their characteristics or their traits different from each other.
Okay. So has there ever been the case of like African bees being crossed with bees from from the West and having hybrids, or I wouldn't say mutants, also probably hybrids?
For that, in terms of genetically engineering those, I'm not sure it has been done. But then naturally, it is not possible. Species can only cross with other species, other similar species. So unless through laboratory techniques, that perhaps you may be able to cross one species with the other. But naturally, it's not possible that one species will mate with another species to give a viable.
I was looking at a scenario of when you take human beings, we have Africans, black people, and then you have Caucasians. Even though we now know Caucasians, they are derived from African genetics heritage. I'm also looking at bees that way. That there's a bee here, there's a different type of bee. Possibly they can cross, because we even have lions and tigers crossing to produce ligers. So now that I know it, I used to think that possibly we may have hybrids out in the wild. But
for humans, we are all the same species, but of different colors, of different races. But for bees, they are of different species entirely. So unless it is true, what's it called, genetic engineering laboratory stuff, in natural sense, it's not possible. You even have let's say across the breadth of Ghana, moving from the south to north, there are different species in every location as you travel along. And then these species never interact. You never find them crossing with other species to produce hybrids or
interesting.
So the species that exist in northern Ghana, for instance, would have different traits, different characteristics as compared to those in the middle belt, as compared to those in the southern sector. Okay, that's great. Just before we move on to the next stage, we're going to be speaking to a gentleman regarding setting up hives. Bees and wasps at times can share some similarities. For our viewers out there, and for those who do not really know so much about insects, of course, bees and wasps, what are the distinct variations? How to really distinguish between a bee and a wasp? Unless if you're out there and you're not so familiar, but for some people it might be worthwhile sharing some information on there. What confuses bees and wasps for most people is the similarity in their color, and then also the similarity in their waist. They have sort of a constricted waist between the middle portion of their body, which is the thorax, and then the end, which is the abdomen. So they have that constriction. But then for the wasp, their constriction is more longer as compared to the bees. Also, wasps have they have 3 pairs of legs. The foreleg, the mid leg, and the hind leg. They are all the same in terms of size and structure. But for the bees, the last pair of legs, which is the hind legs, is extended and is bigger. That is what they use to collect the pollen from the plant. Wasps are not pollinators, but then the bees are. So that is also one thing that differentiates the bees from the wasp. Also, bees are more hairy as compared to the wasp. So you have a lot of hairs on the bee body, right from the thorax, the abdomen, some parts of the abdomen, and even the legs. But then the wasp do not have a lot of hairs like the bees do.
That's great. Thanks for sharing some time with us. Of course, we will be coming back to you in subsequent episodes, because when it comes to beekeeping, we are going to be running quite a few episodes. It's going to be possibly an entire season devoted just to beekeeping and bee products and a whole lot more regarding bees. So I thank you once more, and I think it's about time now we head over to the next stage of our show, for today's episode, in which we are going to be talking about hive making and some other related bits of information. So I thank you very much. And thanks for staying with us, and guys, don't go away.